We're going. All right, this is episode 160. Kip, thanks for coming on. Now, are we getting fucked up, or you got to do rock climbing after this?
Wait, what now?
Are we getting fucked up, or do you have to go rock climbing after this?
No, you guys can go for that, man. I'm just sipping on something, man. I'm not gonna push it too far.
We're actually drinking Aperol Spritz. No joke. But we do have a couple margaritas right here waiting, so we'll see.
You've probably been dying to. I mean, you had a kid, so you're like trying to let off a little bit of steam. You've probably been having built up. So.
Oh yeah, that. But we also, because of coronavirus, have been drinking every day. And I don't know. It's just you're like, yeah, you're working at home. You're.
Yeah. It used to be like once a week. And
once
now
a week.
It's every day.
But a little bit.
Time to rein it in, fellas. Time to rein it in.
Well, that's the thing. It's like now at 32, it's a responsible drinking. It's you have a few, you get tired, and then it's bedtime.
Yeah, you know,
talk bedtime.
I always, man, it's interesting because I notice when we're touring, you know, you look up and it's like, you know, we left on Wednesday night, we're getting back Sunday, and I noticed for like 4 or 5 straight nights, and when we're gone for 3 weeks, you start realizing that every night you're having 3 or 4 drinks, you know, sometimes a little more than that. And it's like when I get off the road, I try to completely not touch anything because I start to feel like a complete booze bag, you know, after a while. So it's
the recovery now it's fucked, man. You can't even.
Yeah, like after 30, it was just straight downhill.
But like, in Chicago, weed is finally legal, so the edibles help big time.
Oh, you guys are legal now, huh?
Yeah. So they're popping up now. Wow. Yeah, so right now because of coronavirus, you order like you're ordering takeout. You show up, you show your ID, they give you a bag, and you just walk out and pay cash.
No way.
Like McDonald's.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like a little takeout system. It's super.
Go Chicago.
It's way overpriced though. It's like the shit that I would normally buy from a buddy, like versus
buddy.
Yeah.
It's like the taxes, and you're just like, well, I got no choice. Yeah, you gotta.
It's time to start growing it in your bathroom, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Well, I mean,
you can, right?
I think you can grow it.
Yeah, you can grow it now.
Yeah.
Because Nashville's got to make that legal. You got a music community. It seems like the type of place that something like that should find its way in.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case right now. But
yeah,
who knows, man? Who knows?
Do you find like anything like that helps your creativity at all when you're like trying to songwrite, like whether it's a drink or smoke or something?
Man, to be honest, I have almost always seemed to be my sharpest for the most part. First thing early in the morning after I'm completely exhausted from the road. As weird as that sounds, when I'm kind of on that kind of crazy maniacal edge, early in the morning is when most of my ideas come with coffee, to be honest. But you know, Janie Blue was the first time that I've ever even written while maybe being a little at an altered, impaired state.
Beautiful.
And honestly, I feel like I tapped into something. I wrote that kind of I've never done this, but most of the time when I write, it's in fragments. I'll hear a chorus melody, or I'm playing a guitar groove. I have one idea, but I kind of like, all right, well, I've got a chorus right here. I've got a verse right here. Then you're trying to search for the other piece and, you know, yada, yada. Janie Blue was, you know, probably 1 o'clock in the morning in Costa Rica. And I'd already finished the record, to be honest. It was about to be packaged and everything. And I was sitting there with my guitar, kind of strumming. And I was somewhere on Pluto somewhere, I'm not sure. But anyways, I felt the whole song kind of coming to me. And so I hit record, and I just thought maybe, you know, a piece of it might fall out. But Janie Blue was pretty much just one streamline of consciousness in one take, the entire melody and most of the lyric all in one take. So the next morning I woke up hoping that it was as good as I thought it was. And I was like, all right, well, I love this. So I called my label. I said, the record's not done. I flew straight home, spent a whole day recording it, and then I was back out surfing.
Really? You flew all the way home, all the way back to Costa Rica?
Yeah, like I had to get it done, man, because I just, there was something so magnetic about that song for me. And I was like, you know, because it came from such a real place. And so I took off right away, went to go record it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that one. Is that your hardest vocal performance, would you say?
Yeah. You know what's crazy is, I'd say South was probably the most difficult.
Oh, because the high. Yeah.
But you know, so many of those are pretty high, and I sing all my own harmonies. So then a lot of times I'm like, shit, now I got to go even higher than that lead, you know?
Yeah.
So, but for me, Janie Blue was definitely kind of right there on my edge. But the crazy thing is the last couple times that I've played during like a live stream or something, I completely forgot that so I play it in an E shape. So it's essentially in the key of D is what was recorded in, but I had my guitar tuned down a whole step. But I play it in the E shape, but it's in the key of D. But I can remember singing that song, you know, back in January, and maybe it's because I've had time to kind of heal from singing so much, but the last 2 times I've done it, I forgot to tune my guitar back down a whole step, and I'm in standard key. So now in the key of E, an entire key up, and I've hit it with no problem. So yeah, go figure.
That's a great way to kick the album off, I think. I mean, for me, I think you end it obviously with the song that everybody's talking about, one of the more personal songs you've had. Did you play that first on the bus? I don't know if you were showing that song to anybody,
No,
right?
I don't think I played that.
No, I don't think you played that one. But man, that's songs like that. I think a lot of fans would agree that are fans of yours are when you're at your absolute best, like the Guitar Man type of songs and this. And I know you've talked about Paying Hard a lot. It's personal, but when it starts, it's an upbeat type of thing you got on there. So was that kind of the plan going in, or?
You know, like what I essentially wanted to do was, I've always really been into Zeppelin. Like, I mean, I was hugely influenced by Zeppelin growing up, and I've always loved all those open tunings, and they were all like these beautiful, beautiful melodies on the guitar. And they were an entire piece on their own. You know what I mean? Like, just the guitar by itself is a whole piece of music. It's not just strumming and playing, you know, the chords. So I've actually written a lot around that kind of thing. This was the first thing to make it on a record, but I knew how heavy this lyric was. You know, there's an old thing where Lord Alge was talking with Springsteen when he had Born in the USA. When you dissect the Born in the USA lyric, it's actually heavy as shit. I mean, it's a heavy, heavy lyric. And when you listen to the original version, it is the most depressing thing you've ever heard. Like, it's so depressing. So Lord Alge had to kind of convince him that, hey, man, if you want people to listen to this song, we got to work on how to make people pay attention to it. So Paying Hard was kind of one of those things for me where it was so personal, and it was so heavy that I tried to kind of trick you with this light dream kind of floating kind of thing. But once you dive into it, you're like, oh shit, you know, this has got a lot of weight to it. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely on purpose, but it fit it in the same way. It completely fit what I was doing.
It's funny you bring up Born in the USA, because we get annoyed because a lot of times people comment on social media without actually reading anything. Like, they'll see a headline or a photo and then they'll talk shit on Twitter. We're like, it's in the article, right?
Yeah.
Born in the USA, still to this day, people think it's like a yay, rah, rah, America, USA.
Yeah.
It's like, you ain't listening to this fucking song right, man.
Yeah.
So that's gotta be annoying for you too, because you pour your heart and soul into pretty much do all the writing. And then, like, if somebody doesn't take something the right way, I mean, for us, it might be an article. For you, it's obviously a song, but like, that's gotta be a frustrating thing sometimes, right?
Dirt Road was kind of that.
Dirt Road, yeah.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I mean, just by looking at the title, you thought it was going to be one thing that was completely different, or, you know, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a frustrating part. And I think, you know, Springsteen talked about that for years. You know, it was, you know, basically all those, you know, vets coming home in the country turning their back on them, you know. Right. So it definitely wasn't a rah-rah America song, you know, that people think it is.
And obviously right now you shared on your social media with the protest, you shared that video. It's a great video with the kids in the park, the racial, children aren't born to hate, but it's taught. it's a powerful message, and that video is timeless, obviously, so it's perfect for what's going on. What's your take on everything? I mean, it's obviously like, seems like a long overdue thing. That it seems different this time. Like, it seems different, and I know how important these things are to you. So I don't know if you had any comments on what you've seen in Nashville.
It's so touchy because we live in such a sensational society. We live in a society that's always prepared to go, gotcha. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And it's this polarizing thing where if you disagree with me, then you're not with me. So there's definitely a thing where a lot of people are afraid to speak because of that reason. You know, I have, you know, a very close friend that is so far left. And then I had a tour manager in the past that was so far right. I've kind of always leaned a little bit right, but I listen to all sides, and I can have a discussion with you, and it's okay if we disagree. But we can talk through things. You know, the thing about it is, you know, I grew up in South Georgia. And for anyone that can grow up in a place where I grew up and if they can truly in their heart of hearts say that there wasn't segregation and there wasn't racism, then you are full of shit. That's my thing.
Yeah.
It was so obvious. You had all the black people on one side of town. You had all the white people on one side of town. It's still that way when you go back. And as a kid trying to process that, and I was the only white guy on the basketball team, and I grew up playing on the dirt courts, and I grew up being the only white guy. So going back and listening to my friends and the way they were around their parents, the stuff they talked about, and I knew they didn't have bad hearts, but they were already being kind of poisoned with certain words they use, you know, the N-word and stuff, and they use it casually. And then we get in fights, and I'm trying to explain to them like how messed up it is to use that word, but I know they don't have a bad heart. They just haven't been educated on what they're saying. So it's definitely been, you know, a thing for so long. And then on the side of, you know, I have such compassion for cops because I have good friends that are cops. My brother was a cop for years. He's now a detective, and he's an amazing human being. He has fired his piece 0 times in the line of duty. And I think that most cops lean on that side. And I'm really irritated that we're always making cops the villains. Like, that bothers me. So there's a lot of things that bother me with everything that's happening right now. You know, and I'll say this too, and it's kind of interesting, you know, it's even with the post that I made, guys, when you look at that post, it's not political. There's nothing political about it. It just comes from a place of love where I'm like, hey, you know, to the African-American community, I hear you, I see you, and I love you. To all the cops, I love you guys too. I know that you're good people, and I hate that you're being villainized the way that you are by somebody that didn't do their job right. There's nothing left wing or right wing about that. That's just basically like, hey, you know, like, we got to all do better. We got to love each other and take care of each other. And it's amazing that with something that simple, and I would only know this because my team, you know, they're worried about stuff. So they have a lock on how many, you know, freaking followers I have or whatever. And just from that tweet, in a matter of minutes, I lose 7,000 followers.
Oh shit!
So that if that doesn't show you, if that's not the prime indicator, because I have, you know, a predominantly white fan base, if that doesn't show you that there's something wrong with our hearts, kind of on a message like that, that's just about, hey, like, treat each other good. I didn't go in any politics. But that irritated enough people that nobody wants to take the time to search their own heart to be like, all right, how do I feel about stuff? You know? So to me, that's just the ultimate indication that we do have a problem, you know? So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know where to go from here. All I can do is control how I lay my head on my pillow at night. All I can control is what's in my heart. And what's always been in my heart, I don't give a shit what color you are, white, black, purple, yellow, I don't care. Like, I'm going to treat you the exact same with the exact same respect. And that's all I've ever tried to push on people, is just be kind to each other. And if we all do that simple thing, like, listen to how fucking simple what I just said is.
Right. Exactly.
Just be kind to each other. If we all do that and treat each other with respect, and we work on trying to listen to people, I think a lot of times a problem too is there's so many people speaking out that have never even taken the time to sit down in a Black home and just have a meal. I've done it my whole life. I'm going to do it tomorrow with B.B. Winans, the famous gospel singer, who is as good as gold. There's not a better human being on this planet. So when you take time to sit down and hear where people are coming from, and BB and I disagree on things a lot of times. You know, sometimes I'll say, I think that maybe, you know, we don't see eye to eye basically on everything, but we're okay with that. We always leave hugging each other and learning something from each other. So I think that's a big problem too, is we all just stay in our little groups, so we never learn from each other. So I definitely think we've made strides, but we also have a generation that is still holding on to a lot of things. And that comes in the Black community, and well deserved. You know, we treated them horrible for years. And it comes in the white community from, you know, their grandparents and their grandparents kind of teaching them this thing. So it's up to us now to kind of try to break that cycle of trying to find some kind of common ground and making all this a better place, you know? So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, it's a great take. And you actually touched on something I was going to ask you about, because it's with social media. I think the issue is, like, especially with like Twitter, you can't, like, Wes and I we don't have to put labels on stuff, Republican, Democrat, whatever. I can be friends with people on both sides. I can agree and disagree, but have a normal conversation. But Twitter has turned into this like mob mentality where if it's not, you don't agree, they fucking come after you. So people but then those same people a lot of times are chasing this clout. Oh, I'm going to tweet how amazing this, like, whatever situation, or like whatever issue at hand, they tweet about it to make themselves feel better, but then they put their phone down. They don't do fucking anything. They just put their phone down. They wait for the retweets. That makes them feel good. They pat themselves on the back, and then they go on with their day, where it's like so many people are just trying to get, you know, if
hey man,
people get upset with some artists that don't say anything, right? Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. It's like, I get it, especially if it's an important issue, people will get upset. But sometimes you got to ask yourself, would you rather bully somebody into saying something they don't truly believe just to be like a part of the thing?
Yeah.
Let them do their own fucking thing and say, not post anything. It's a weird thing. It's like if they post it just because they don't want to get shit on, but they're scared if they post they do get shit on. You talk about losing 7,000 followers. It's like those 7,000 people you probably don't even want following you.
Not at all. Yeah. I was just bringing that up to let people understand that there is a problem. Like, I didn't say anything 100%. that was divisive, you know? Right. So these phones are absolutely rotting the core of everything about the fiber of a human. And I truly believe that. Our phones are turning us into absolute monsters. It's a drug that people can't, you know, and reading comments on Instagram or Twitter, I had no idea that such vile, like, mean-spirited humans were walking around me at all times. I don't know where these people come from. I don't know where they actually live.
Losers.
Are they coming to shows? Like, I don't.
But it truly is amazing to me what kind of monster inside social media has created, because it's made everybody feel powerful, like their word is so worthy. And, you know, it's it's kind of baffling what it's come to, you know, even like with what I said, like I said something so simple with that post and saying I love the cops. I love them, man. We would be in serious trouble without them. And and basically all the rest of it said is, and I love my Black brothers and sisters. And you know, when people tell you just stay on your lane and just play music, I'm like, well, okay, well then if you work at Home Depot, you just stay in the fucking paint department.
Right.
And that's all you're supposed to do.
Right.
You know, it's like what? You know, first off, I'm not trying to sway you in a political direction. I'm just trying to say, hey guys, like, let's just remember to be good to each other. And it just, that kind of stuff amazes me, because we all have a right to speak, but to speak in a respectful way. And that's what we've lost sight of, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to like what you said about having dinner, like racism and stuff like that. That's going to be fixed at the dinner table and in the community and face to face. It's not going to be fixed on social media.
Yeah, you're right.
And you do it.
You're 100% right.
You do it. And there's other people out there that do it, and they don't have to broadcast it all the time, because it's just who you are. You're just like, same like when we do stuff, charitable stuff, we don't sit there and post about it and say, look, you guys, look how much money we donate for X. We just do it.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's just like, so much of the toxicity comes from, oh, I donate, or I want to do something. Oh, I want to post about it. Sure, if you want to get other people jumping on board and stuff, that's great. But really, like, just seeing more action, and I think we appreciate, because you're not a bullshitter. You post something, it's because you're out there and you're.
Yeah, I mean, I probably post 5% of what I actually do. In the communities, and that's the thing, is like, I'm coming from a place that is very, I'm in it. I see it. Like I'm very well aware of the poverty ridden areas, and there's a feeling of there's no way out. You know, there's not a feeling of hope. And you know, I'll say this too. I might be going to, you know, like, and that's the thing, is like, I'm just talking very direct and straight right now. And I even go back to my upbringings in South Georgia. And I think about, you know, being the only white guy playing on those dirt courts and having these amazing relationships with guys like Quincy, Aloysius, Tyrone Slade, Jamal Tucker. There were these people that or I just had such love and affection for throughout my life. And I had bonds with these guys, and, you know, and then I also had my group of white friends, you know, as well too. But the interesting thing to me was always, you know, when I went to my white friends, first off, they had, I'll just go to the simple fact of, you know, whenever you wanted to grab something to eat, whatever, like, you just had things at your disposal, you know, and you listen to people. I listened to people that I knew badmouth, well, so-and-so is just lazy and falling asleep in class all day and this and that. I'm like, well, last night, your mom and dad made you eat your broccoli. They gave you a fucking T-bone steak. And this morning, they sent you off to school with your Oreos, your more broccoli. They packed you a peanut butter and fucking jelly sandwich, while my other buddy over here ain't had shit in the last 24 hours. What do you think he's going to do when he gets to class? He's going to fall asleep. He's tired. He's exhausted. He's been up since 2 a.m. Nobody's, you know, so there are things, and that's a common thread. So there's, for us not to acknowledge that. And that's the thing, is overall, there's a group of people that just want to be heard. They want you to acknowledge the continuation of things that have happened throughout the years. And when people are saying Black Lives Matter, and then somebody says, well, all lives matter. Well, no shit.
Right.
Nobody's saying Black Lives Matter more. Yeah. They just want you to acknowledge that our lives matter too.
That's a simple concept too that people can't.
It's a very simplistic concept that people are having a hard time wrapping their heads around. And it's just a matter of just open your eyes, open your hearts, just kind of look around, and it's not too hard to see.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for actually, you know, like I said, doing it. And inserting yourself in the community. That's the only way it's going to get better. Hopefully everybody, this seems to be a little different. Like I mentioned, though, we can move on to some, like, but this one seems different, obviously, this movement right now. And
it feels a little more hopeful.
Yeah. And I mean, and on the tail end of this, though, obviously there's coronavirus, so your tour gets canceled. The whole, nobody knows what's going to,
which I do find kind of interesting right now, that there's hundreds of thousands of people protesting in the streets in close proximity, and yet the hospitals aren't overrun. I'll just throw that out there. That's a little interesting.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir, man.
But
it seemed like we had this thing where it was like, I don't want to get into it because people are going to get upset, but like, I'm noticing like where we live in Chicago, like once all the science came out, it's almost like they got scared to be like, oh, never mind, like, shit, we should open stuff up sooner. They kind of like played it extra cautious because it was a little like late to react. So they're kind of trying to like catch up from how they like fucked up at the beginning. But my wife was giving birth. We go there and they're like at Northwestern, and they had to test her. So if she tested positive, then she would have had to give birth by herself. So we were like kind of nervous. They didn't even test me, so I wasn't really sure what the hell was going on. But I was allowed to go in there with fucking scrubs and shit. But then she was obviously negative. But then like we asked, we're like, oh, sick people, this and that. They're like, no, there's nobody here. Like nobody. It's all. I was like, okay, but yeah, I get it. It's dangerous.
I definitely believe it's a serious thing.
Yeah, for certain people, for sure, and it's definitely but Chicago just opened their patios up. So that's what everybody's out here getting fucked up right now, a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
But the tour getting canceled, back to that. And then the next year or so, are you just completely in the dark right now? You have no idea.
Because you tweeted recently that
so I've just kind of agreed to a couple shows in August and a couple shows in September that are regular shows. There's no restrictions. We'll see if people show up. And I've also got something up my sleeve that I've been working through the details with my team. And it was something that I presented to them, mainly because I've just seen the reaction to this record. I don't feel like I've ever had a reaction to a record the way I have with this one. So I've been working on something, and it's going to be, if I can do it and pull it off. Nobody's ever done this. So we'll see if I can do it.
Nobody ever, you're saying?
I can't think of anybody that's ever done what I'm thinking about doing.
Are you going to release 3 new albums at the same time?
Nah. You know, I'd love to do that right now, but this is on the live. This is more on the setting of me playing this music for fans.
I have an idea. I wonder if it's that, but I won't say it. But here's the thing though. It's like these drive-in concerts and stuff. What happens? We were talking about it.
Yeah, it's not a drive-in.
Yeah, well, we were laughing because I think Texas had them and started to with Josh Abbott band, or
Keith Urban did one too.
But it's like as soon as people start getting liquored up, you just start. I gotta stand up.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're on their hoods, and then they're on the top of their car, and then everybody's outside mingling, and then it's over. Then it's just you just have your cars and the people together.
Yeah. Well, even your acoustic show here, last like acoustic tour run you did at the Copernicus Theater.
Yeah, that Steve missed. We won't talk about that. But
I was in Iceland. Iceland was the point where my wife and I decided for sure we're going to be moving to like Colorado, because we were like, we have to get to nature. Maybe another year, and then Colorado and the mountains somewhere.
Yeah, Iceland's special.
Iceland was just different. It's just magical. So
truly is.
And thank you for your you told me about one of the hot springs we went to, and that was awesome too. So
at that show though, it's like an acoustic show. It's in a theater. You're like, oh, this might be a little bit chill. Within like 5 seconds, the crowd just rushes to the front of the stage.
Yeah, it was that tour was amazing, man.
Absolutely. Even my wife said the other day, she was like, that was, I think, one of the best shows I think I've ever seen. And it was acoustic.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. You get that a lot. So we always harp on like honesty, and it's like artists that are real, but like the live show being so important. And I know you look up to a guy like in our buddies with like Eric Church. You've been posting about Ashley McBride a lot lately. I noticed on your stories.
Yeah.
She's incredible live. It seems like people are waking up a little bit more to the
100%.
The authenticity factor of the music, and like the bullshit is just not, it doesn't have that same, like, people are excited to hear whatever.
Yeah. It's definitely shifting. It's definitely shifting. You know, but when you think about it, when I think back through so many different eras, and I try not to spend my time like, you know, if someone likes something, and that's always been my thing, like if someone finds joy in something that I think is shit, then who am I to say, you know, hey, if you like that, then that's awesome. I'm not gonna shit on your parade. That's like, if you enjoy that, if you love the Bee Gees, then more power to you. It might not be my cup of tea, but I'm not gonna bash it. It's okay to be like, hey, I don't like this. So, but, you know, I feel like in every era, even, you know, people always talk about the 90s, man, I could name you a lot of shitty songs in the 90s. But there was a lot of amazing music too coming through the 90s. And I think that you have that at every single juncture. You have very cheesy music, and then you'll have these amazing tunes like Clear Blue Sky, you know, George Strait, these Haggard tunes, Looking for a Place to Fall Apart. You have these songs that,
Sorry about that.
But yeah, I mean, it's so many great Alan Jackson songs, and then there's some that are, you know, that you know, whatever. So
speaking out, I think back then, so like Chattahoochee is obviously like the best, like,
it's amazing.
Best worst song. Like it's nobody would consider that his actual best writing.
It's not the Michelangelo, you know, Sistine Chapel of country music.
It's just the catchiness of it and stuff. But when you look at the artist and the catalog, you're like, okay, that you're gonna have those moments. But it's big. I think when we get frustrated and fans do is when like so much of it becomes.
Yeah, this was definitely a time period where it was very homogenized into one sound. Absolutely. Yeah. And it made a lot of people frustrated that we're doing things different and getting lumped in when people didn't do their homework to, oh, well, mainstream sucks right now. Well, no, there's actually a lot of people that are doing a lot of cool shit. They're just not getting heard.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's been a problem, you know, and a lot of my records have always had a very American rock and roll influence to them because that's what I grew up in. So a lot of times there hasn't been a lane for somebody like me because stuff has been so pop. But, you know, it's just one of those things. You grit your teeth, you know, you keep grinding. And luckily with my records, it's become this thing where you just dive into the whole record, and then I can go play an entire show off of album cuts, which has been a beautiful, beautiful thing.
For you, like, even with this new record, like, it seems like you write a record as a complete body of work.
Yeah.
You're not like, okay, well, I know I can have a radio single here, or I can probably pop a radio single in here. Like, how does your, I don't, if I'm wrong, but I don't think you approach it that way.
You know, I definitely don't approach it that way. Usually when I'm writing, usually what happens with me when making a record, I kind of never stop. First of all, you take like being into Kentucky the last 3 months, I wrote every single morning for 2 or 3 hours, and I wrote some of the best stuff I've ever written. I'm already ready to make another record at this point. But it's truly some of the best stuff I've written. But, you know, I kind of get locked into this zone at certain parts of my life, usually for about a 2 or 3 month span where I'm tapping into a certain thing. And I just write and write and write. And then I have a body of work. But when I'm writing, I'm truly never thinking about, okay, well, I could make this the radio single. I could make this, that. I try to complete a body of work. And then I step back and I'm like, all right, what do I have? Yeah. And of course, you know, every musician, every recording artist, we had dreams of being played on the radio because it is such a big avenue to let the masses hear what you're doing. So, you know, even like Merle Haggard once said, I'm dreaming of one last big hit song. You know, it was like Tom Petty used to talk about the same thing, how much a big hit song can mean to your career.
Yeah.
He definitely wasn't a sellout, but we're all hoping to have that big hit song. But the trouble can be, and I've seen it with artists, and I've seen it in the room with writers, when that's all. And that's why I had to trim my camp, to be honest. Like, I probably shouldn't say this, but back in the day, I had to trim the fat. I would get in the room with these established writers or people in town that were trying to get singles, and I understood it because that's where the money was for these songwriters. But it was always in the room a struggle when I was making that first record and just trying to make good music with, you know, every 15 minutes, well, radio won't let you say that, or I don't know if that's going to fit for like a single. We need to kind of, it was always that talk in the room where I had to say, F this, man. I'm going to stick to Weston Davis and Dan Couch and Brett James and Blair, these guys that will just let me be me and say what I want to say. You know, I can remember, take a song like A Backseat. I can remember somebody in that room saying, we will never be able to record this because we can't get this played on the radio. And I said, you watch. Like, I don't need to get it played on the radio. This is what I'm going to say. This is how we're going to say it. And it's been one of my biggest songs in the live show. It's been a very instrumental part of the show. So I never focus on that during the process, but afterwards, it is definitely a thought of, have I written stuff that's completely left field where I don't have a chance?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Backseat, you also had Sarah Jean Underwood in that video, right? So that was
yeah.
That's good. But no, you said I shouldn't say this, but it was like, no, you should. You should just say whatever the fuck you want, because you kind of play. You're gonna have your radio success, but like your thing is like the fans and the live show, and you write your own stuff aside from a song here or there. Like it's different, and like those artists, you guys just like last forever. Like there's no like drop off where it's like, well, that's over. That guy's done.
I think when you have a live show that's phenomenal, a full album, that's where you earn real fans for life.
Yeah.
Like a radio song, like a radio fan is gonna like zero in on one song, and then it's like, okay, well, I like that song when it was on the radio.
Yeah.
And the radio thing is so bad sometimes, so it's so nice now where we start to hear some of this, like the real deal, real writing, real country music. Like my sister and my wife both were
one night standards, man.
Oh yeah, great stuff.
So great, man. So great.
But the issue, I won't name names, but you go on, you listen to the country radio for wherever you are, and it's the same artist maybe twice every hour.
Yeah.
My wife was driving for the first time in a while. She's like, "What?" She texts me. She goes, "What the fuck is country like?" And I was like, "That." I'm like, "Yeah, like it's bad. Like it can be. You can get some really bad stretches where it's just an onslaught of like the same exact thing." So fans have the options now to be like, who cares if you're not on the radio? Stapleton, Casey Musgraves, and some of these people, like, not on the radio. I think they're doing all right. You know, and like guys like you, it's like, it's great to have that song that becomes a huge hit or whatever on the radio.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you don't want to say, but it's like, you know, your shit's better than a lot of the others. So we'll say that. So it's like you probably know deep down that you don't have to like worry about that. That's got to be nice, because I would get super annoyed if I just saw some, like, if I was a country music singer and then I would just see whatever, just getting like not writing, not doing anything, just singing songs just to get number ones, and then that's it. There's no effort being put into the craft. I think for us as fans, as you get older, that can become super frustrating to see the money chasers. I won't even call them sellouts, because when you sell out, what does that mean? You're getting what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Wanted that. So I don't know how you can really call somebody a sellout if they're deciding, I want to sign this or do whatever. But it's the people that from day one are just chasing a sound. And you mentioned it with Sam Hunt in an interview, I think last summer, about him, where you said like everybody started copying him. Everybody, guys that were coming up. That's got it. Like, are you seeing that kind of go away? the whole copycat game a little bit?
I don't think that will ever go away, to be honest. You know, there's going to be, with the success of a guy like Luke Combs, and I love Luke Combs, but with the success of a guy like that, there'll be a lot of wannabe Luke Combs that come through now. There'll be, and it's been like that since the beginning. You had wannabe Alan Jacksons, you had wannabe George Straits. It's I don't think that's going to ever go away. You know, so yeah, I mean, Sam, you know, when he first came on the scene, he was doing his own unique thing. Whether you liked it, whether you didn't, he was good at doing his thing. And then it became so popular. And of course, then you had a bunch of chasers after what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all I can do musically, it's one of those things where, for sure, there's times where I get frustrated, 100%, whether it's not, you know, what I love to play a song that's as powerful as Paying Hard on the CMA award show, for sure I would. For sure I'd love to.
Yeah.
But you know, that stuff will drive you mad, and I don't let it infiltrate my bloodstream. I try to just focus on what I'm doing. And I'll be honest, it's not a cliche thing, but the passion behind this fan base and how loyal they are to what we're doing has given me that freedom to not focus on anything but just trying to make great records.
And that's earned out on the road playing shows.
Yeah.
Converting real people who are like,
yeah,
I like Kip Moore, not I just like, oh, I like this song. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really, you know what I mean? Like,
it's, you know, like 2020, and like a guy like Eric Church has never, except for recently, like a couple times, use it. He doesn't use social media. It's just, here's the music, the live show, pour your heart and soul into it every time. And that's going to stick. Like, there's so much other stuff that it's not going to stick. And I think the fans like gravitate so much towards like authenticity. I mean, and that goes for the music, but it also goes, we were talking about like serious issues when you can tell that you're not full of shit. I think people that have their like head on right can like see that. And I think hopefully
that's what you hope, for sure. That's what you hope.
Getting to the point now where that's more of a common thing. But when it comes to touring, like obviously you say you got some tricks coming, but on this new album, are there certain songs you're excited to play more than others?
Man, I can't wait to play South live.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That last minute of the song, man, I can't wait to do that. Paying Hard for sure. Sweet Virginia, I mean, I think that's probably the most epic ending to any song that I've ever recorded. So, and in the studio recording that, man, it was 6 musicians looking around, and we were all 10-year-old kids again. Like, we were all so, like, there was so much magic in the room.
Yeah, like that kind of laughy. You're like, oh, we're killing.
Oh man, it just that's why we all got into music, is to have that feeling that we all had at the end of recording Sweet Virginia. So we can't wait to play that one live.
I think South might be one of my favorites from the record too. Just like, it's just like the energy, and then with
it's been a slow creeper for a lot of fans. I've seen a lot of messaging about how that's been like this big song that's growing on everybody, where they're like, we can't wait to hear this live.
Do you have an idea of one that would like, all right, maybe this is the next single, we're getting a little bit of a vibe from fans? Or...
Man, it's hard to say.
I feel like Fire and Flame get a lot of comments.
I would love to. I'll just leave it at that. I got to keep my mouth shut, but I would love to.
Yeah. We know how,
say no more.
we know how that works. And
yeah.
One last question though, it's going to be pretty epic. Are you concerned at all, not necessarily with the coronavirus, but how drunk people are going to get at the first show? Because if people are going to be getting,
I'll be honest, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about trying to bring levity to people's lives, man. I haven't given one thought to what you just asked me. Now I have. Now I'm thinking about it.
I'm envisioning some people can't handle, like, not handling themselves. They're getting so.
I hope that's not the case.
We'll see,
you know, but yeah, I'm just itching to play these songs, man. It's probably the most I've ever I needed a break. I'll be honest. I needed it. But now, like, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to crank up these amps and deliver these songs in a full band capacity.
Speaking of cranking up the amps, one of my favorite things about your music is that I always like to personally do that. Turn up your album really loud, turn up my amps really loud. But now I live in a really shitty building that doesn't let me do that anymore. So like Wild Ones has such a special place in my heart because I lived in the shitty building with college kids, and I was like 27 years old.
Yeah.
And I just turn up. I have a Vox AC30, and it's loud as hell. And
yeah,
turn that thing up.
You would play that lipstick riff.
Oh yeah, every time. And now I'm looking forward to hopefully within the next 6 months or so moving out of my place and in a new place where I can get into Wild World like that.
Yeah. It's a fun record to play musically. It's a really fun record to play. There's so much, when you listen, there's so much rhythmic movement. This is by far the most rhythmic movement of any record I've done. And that's what I set out to do. It's not just the drums creating the rhythmic parts. There's so much movement happening with the bass lines and the keys and the guitar parts. And it just creates such a hypnotic headspace.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love it. And speaking of it, if you wanted, I mean, you have your guitar with you. If you want to play us a song.
Yeah, I'll play you something.
But just,
I'll do
make sure your name doesn't get like some copyright.
I'll do Janie Blue for you. Well, you off to Janie Blue. Don't you know that your daddy ain't home? He went and left there playing with you. That's a real heavy thing to hold. Oh, to hold. I seen you lean on sweet addiction when the pain's a little too much. Do you think you'll find redemption in the arms of a stranger's touch? Stranger's touch. Why you wanna keep running from the one thing that's been true? No, I can't keep clinging to my Janie Blue. Sometimes I think you might be healing. Other times I ain't so sure. Girl, there ain't no shame in bleeding. No such thing as pure. Thing is joy. Why you wanna keep running from the one thing that's been true? Ooh, no, I can't keep clinging to my Janie Blue. Yeah. I love you through the darkness.
Beautiful. If there's somebody actually named Janie Blue, that was a made up name.
That was a made up name, man.
That's a unique name, but there might be somebody with that name who's like fucking jackpot baby.
No, I gotta keep people protected.
Right? Yeah, I know. Yeah, we want to ask you about all that shit, the dating and all.
Do you still know Janie Blue?
I still know Janie Blue.
That's great, man.
Right.
Yeah. We gotta figure out a time to get down to the Bedrock place.
Yeah.
Which looks beautiful, by the way.
You want to do it in the fall, early fall.
Yeah, let's fucking do it then. Are you? I don't know if you're asking.
That's when the weather's the best.
Yeah, we'll make it work because luckily having the kid right now, and then for me personally though, it kind of made my life worked out with coronavirus weirdly.
Yeah.
There was nowhere to go for the first month of the baby being alive, and then everything gets canceled this summer. So there's no festivals in Chicago. There's no, whatever. So it's like everybody's kind of not traveling, sitting there. So by the time fall comes, I'm hoping it's a little more normal.
Yeah.
And also when we get there, there's how many people you have there? Like 20 at the most?
Holds 28 people a night.
It looks awesome. And
yeah, it's incredible, man. It's like 100 waterfalls, like right around there. It's wild.
I'm sure we could do a lot of cool, like just you playing shit out, streaming a couple things, but just enjoying, disconnecting though mostly. Don't worry, disconnecting mostly.
Yeah, throwing my phone in the garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love you, and like coming on, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, all the love, man. I hope to see y'all soon, man, and all the success y'all's way, man. Y'all built something cool.
Same to you, dude. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Be safe.
Yeah. Wes, that stash is on point. Y'all take care. Later.
Quarantine, man. Gotta grow one.
See ya.
See you, dude.
Yeah.